start the great name of Allah, who is most kind and most merciful. To all the listeners, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Abdullah Tanyo. I am a student of BBA from Sindh University campus, Larkana. The purpose today of recording this video is that I am going to present a presentation as a part of my final term examination assigned by respected Sir Ayaz Maitlo. Topics of presentation: these three are the topics which I am going to present today. Number one is market equilibrium, number two is factors of production, and number three is elasticity and revenue. So the first topic of my presentation today is market equilibrium. Let's talk briefly on this topic. Objectives: these are the key points of my presentation today. What is market equilibrium? How markets solve three economic problems, which are what, how, and for whom to produce. So number one is market equilibrium. Well, before I talk about market equilibrium, let me just give you a highlight on these two words separately. What is market and what is equilibrium? Okay. So the word market, it can be simply defined as a place where two parties can gather to facilitate the exchange of goods and services. And the word equilibrium means a state in which opposing forces or influences are balanced. But in economics, equilibrium is a situation in which economic forces such as supply and demand are balanced. In the absence of external influences, the values of economic variables will not change. A market equilibrium is a market state where supply in the market is equal to the demand in the market. The equilibrium price is a price of a good or service when the supply of it is equal to the demand for it in the market. Well, equilibrium is the state in which market supply and demand balance each other, and as a result, prices become stable. Generally, for an example, an oversupply of goods or services cause prices to go down, which results in higher demand. The balancing effect of supply and demand results in the state of equilibrium. I have mentioned two diagrams in this slide. As you can see in these both diagrams, I have mentioned market supply and market demand, showing both on equal. So market equilibrium is market supply and market demand both has to be equal. Going to the second slide. What to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. Well, since inflation, unemployment, pollution, energy shortages, and government deficits are the sum of the complex problems confronting an economy, which have an impact at the micro level also. These problems arise due to the fact that resources are limited while human wants are unlimited. This leads to dissatisfaction, causing human beings to look for the ways to fulfill their needs. To make the best use of economic resources, following questions need to be answered: what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. Well, what happens when we put all the different markets together, for example, beef, car, labor, land, labor, capital, and everything else? These markets work simultaneously to determine a general equilibrium of prices and production. By matching sellers and buyers, supply and demand in each market, a market instantly solves three problems of what, how, and for whom. This means that by market equilibrium of supply and demand, these problems can be tackled. I'm going to the third slide. Okay, so three economic problems. What to produce? Well, at the level of the government, scarcity of land, labor and capital means they cannot satisfy all the needs of economy. They have to choose which goods and services to produce. With the limited resources available, from an individual point of view, he or she has to decide how much to consume and how much to save. Well, societies have to decide the best combination of goods and services to meet their varied wants and needs. So it is dependent on individual. Uh, they have to decide uh, what goods and services will meet their wants and needs. Going to the second economic question, how to produce. Well, how things are produced is determined by the competition among different producers. It is one of the points how to produce. And you know, this look at the this looks at the combination of resources and the quantity of each resource to be used to produce a given level of output. The best combination is the full employment of the available resource to produce the maximum output depending upon the resources available. That is one of the points as well. And firms will decide this on the basis of their cost and their aim. As we have seen, their aim is to make a profit, in fact the maximum profit possible. To help them do this, they need to produce as efficiently as possible. The more efficiently they produce, the lower the cost of production. Going to the third economic problem, for whom to produce. For whom things are produced, who is consuming and how much depends in large part on the supply and the demand in the markets of the factor of production. Factor of production earns incomes. These incomes can be used to produce to purchase goods and services. So the higher the level of income, the more goods and services can be demanded in the market sector of the economy. This question is therefore decided by the relative rewards of factor of production. Well, that's it from my first topic of today's presentation. Well, coming to the second topic of my presentation, factors of production. Let's talk briefly on this. So these are the key points of my presentation of factor of production, which are: number one is what is production, on second number is what is factor of production, and third one is define four factors of production. Well, factor of production. If I could simply define this term factor of production, it would be as anything that assists the production is termed as factor of production. Okay, so it becomes a factor of production only when it actually assists or contributes to production. These are the resources used to produce goods and services. Professor J.R. Hicks defines production as an activity directed towards the satisfaction of people's wants through exchange, and these are also called inputs. These are used in production process to give an output. Factors of production are resources used to produce goods and services which give us an output of anything that we need in production. There are four factors of production. Number one is land or natural resources. The second number is labor. The third number is capital, and fourth is entrepreneurship. Okay, so let's discuss all these factors of production with detail. So coming to the first and very basic factor of production, which is land. Land is original and primary factor of production. Without land, the production process cannot exceed further. In economics, all the natural resources that are available on the surface of the earth, below the surface of the earth, above the surface of the earth, and which are used in the production process is called land. Land is a quite broad category as a factor of production in that it refers to all the natural resources. These resources are gifts that are given by nature. Going to the second factor of production, which is labor. Well, labor is a human effort that can be applied to the production. In economics, labor is defined as economic activity of a man with head and hand. Labor consists of the human time spent in production, working in automobile factories, writing softwares, teaching school, or baking pizzas. Thousands of occupations and tasks at all skill levels are performed by labor. It is at once the most familiar and the most crucial input for an advanced industrial economy. Labor can be classified as mental labor and physical labor. Going to the third factor of production, which is capital. Capital resources form the durable goods of an economy produced in order to produce goods. Capital goods include machines, roads, computers, softwares, trucks, steel mills, and automobiles. Going to the example of capital. This is the example of capital. As you can see, these two images, any commodity owned by any person is his wealth. But when wealth is used in production process, it is called capital. As you can see, there are two cars. The one is wealth and the other one is taxi. A car owned by any person is his wealth, but when this car is used in taxi service, then it is called capital. Going to the fourth and final factor of production, which is enterprise or entrepreneurship. Well, entrepreneur is a person who brings in land, labor, and capital in one place and uses it for the production purpose. He is the person who decides what to produce, how to produce, and where to produce. The person who takes these decisions along with the risk associated with them is known as entrepreneur. Well, that's it from this topic. So the third and final topic of my presentation today is elasticity and revenue. Let's talk on this. These are key points. Objectives of my presentation: define elasticity, what is revenue, price elasticity and revenue, and impact of price elasticity on revenue. Well, price elasticity. The price elasticity of demand, which is also called price elasticity, measures how much the quantity demanded of a good changes when its price changes. Elasticity measures responsiveness of one variable to changes in another variable. For example, if you have owned a coffee shop and wanted to increase your prices, this responsiveness is something you need to consider. When you increase prices, you know quantity will fall, but by how much? A measure of the effect of a price change or change in the quantity supplied on the demand for a product or service is price elasticity. And the mathematical formula to calculate price elasticity is percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. So elasticity of demand can be divided into three broad categories: elastic, inelastic, and unitary. An inelastic demand is one in which the elasticity is greater than 1, indicating a high responsiveness to the changes in price, and elasticities that are less than 1, indicating low responsiveness to the price changes and correspondent to inelastic demand. Third one, unitary elasticities indicate proportional responsiveness of either demand or supply, and the price elasticity of demand is the percentage change in the quantity demanded of a good or service divided by the percentage change in the price. The price elasticity of supply is the percentage change in the quantity supply divided by the percentage change in price. So, coming to the next slide, broad categories of elasticity: perfectly elastic, elastic, unitary, inelastic, perfectly inelastic. So, elasticities can be usefully divided into 5 broad categories, which I have mentioned. Number 1 is perfectly elastic. Let's talk on this. If the quantity demanded increases infinitely or by unlimited quantity with a small fall in price, or quantity demanded falls to zero with a small rise in price, thus it is also known as infinite elasticity. It does not have practical importance as it is rarely found in real life. Coming to the second category of elasticity of demand, if the percentage change in demand is greater than the percentage change in price, for example, if there is a greater change in demand, there is a small change in price. It is also called highly elastic demand or simply elastic demand. Let's take an example on this. For example, if the price falls by 5% and the demand rises by more than 5%, let's say 10%, then it is a case of elastic demand. The demand for luxurious goods such as car, television, furniture, etc., it is considered to be elastic. Then number 4 comes inelastic. If the percentage change in quantity demanded is equal to the percentage change in price, it is also called unitary elasticity. In such type of demand, 1% change in price leads to exactly 1% change in quantity demanded. This type of demand is an imaginary one as it is rarely applicable in our practical life. Then number 4 comes inelastic. If the percentage change in quantity demanded is less than the percentage change in price, for example, if there is a small change in demand with greater change in price, it is also called less elastic or simply inelastic demand. Let's take an example on this one as well. When the price falls by 10% and the demand rises by less than 10%, for suppose of 5%, then it is the case of inelastic demand. The demand for goods of daily consumption as rice, salt, etc., is said to be inelastic. The last one, perfectly inelastic. The demand is said to be perfectly inelastic if the demand remains constant, whatever may be the price. For example, price may rise or fall, thus it is also called zero elasticity. It also does not have practical importance as it is rarely found in real life. I have mentioned a diagram as well, you can see it as well for better understanding. Let's move on to the next slide, which is total revenue. Total revenue is the amount of money that a company earns by selling its goods and services during a period of time. For example, day or week. The mathematical formula for to calculate total revenue is also mentioned. Total revenue is the price of an item multiplied by the number of units sold. Let's move on to the next slide, price elasticity and total revenue. Well, it says if you know the price elasticity of demand, you know what will happen to total revenue when price changes. When demand is price inelastic, a price reduces total revenue. when the price elasticity of demand is inelastic, the percentage change in quantity demand is smaller than that in price. Hence, when the price is raised, the total revenue increases, and vice versa. Hence, when the price is raised, the total revenue falls to zero. And number 2 comes when the demand is price elastic, a price decreases, increases total revenue. So, if the demand is elastic, then percentage change in quantity demanded is greater than the percentage change in price. Therefore, a given percentage rise in price will be more than offset of a large percentage fall in the quantity, so that total revenue falls. Number 3 comes unit elastic demand. A price decreases leads to no change in total revenue. Well, if demand is unitary, then percentage change in quantity demanded is equal to percentage change in product. Well, that's it from me. This was all from me, and I thank you all for listening to this video, and I would like to especially greet and thank Sir Ayaz for giving me an opportunity to use this platform for academic purpose, and I have given my 100%. I hope you all like it, and don't forget to ask any question regarding my this presentation in comment box. Thank you very much. Thank you.